Hey Barb, let's just take you through a breakdown of what we found in your swing. So what we can say is that looking at your swing, you have a pretty reliable pattern of transitioning the swing or starting the downswing with the right sequence. That is, your hips go first, shoulders come second, hands come third. And a lot of the times the peak speed at which each segment accelerates or reaches its peak acceleration, and then which segment then accelerates in relation to one another, you generally have almost the same sequencing. 1, 2, 3, as in the hips come first, shoulders come second, or hands come third. If we scroll back up, we can sort of say that we had some where maybe the hips were outraced a bit, or the shoulders peak first, hips second, hands third, but that's been a pretty reliable pattern for you. So what we can say is that despite some of the challenges that you have working on, that you fundamentally understand how to sequence the body for the most part with the right things. One of the things we worked on was trying to get your body at address a little bit more square to the target line. So the ones we had before, we had your upper body around 20 degrees open through the hips. So it meant that your hips were too open, so we closed your hips. And we ended up actually opening up your shoulders. So your shoulders a lot of the times were too open, and now you brought it back within this range. So that was one of the things we focused on. The other thing we worked on a bit was kind of tipping over at address, making sure you had the right amount of bend. Sometimes we had you getting too far tipped over, and this sort of shows that some of the stuff we worked on almost put you back almost at the extreme of being a bit more upright than usual. What we found is that for you, we need a good hip turn. Now this is sort of saying that maybe your hips turn a little too far to norm, but that's a degree out, and that works better for you because we know the shoulders are limited and we know the neck is a little limited. So if we want to give the upper body a bit more wiggle room for your lower body to sequence the right way, a bigger hip turn helped you out a bit. What it sort of tells us is that we would like to see the hips kind of rotate through further at impact, and we'd like to see the upper body also rotate further through. Those are sorts of things that we fix by just sort of improving things like the address and takeaway, and Juan will help you a bit more with that. If we look at some of the angles here, we talked a bit about getting the glutes more engaged at impact, or feeling like the pelvis tucks under more. So we've given you some drills in your programming to help get this number down a bit, but also just helps the overall sequencing as well. But the big number we really want to focus on is something called the side bend. So this is that at the top of the backswing, getting your left shoulder lower. So we would sort of say that your the side bend was a bit too flat, and if you're too flat, sometimes we get a bit of an outside-inside swing. So we want to get that left shoulder lower, and we worked on some feedback for that. The other thing too is at the top of the swing too, this number shows that it's out of it, which it sort of means like maybe we're moving a little far onto the right side, but we're okay with this. Before we had it close to this -2. So all things considered, we're okay with all these sort of numbers. And this side bend here, it means that we'd also like to see your right shoulder at impact get a little bit lower. These aren't things you can consciously control, but the feedback that we wanted to sort of take home was that at address, we want to get you to get a bit straighter in the spine and a bit more upright. And at the top of the swing, focusing on trying to get that left shoulder a little bit lower. Juan's going to help you sort of figure out the right path to take the club back, and John should help you sort of freeing up some of that mobility through the neck, shoulders, as well as the mid-back. Hope that helps.